Okay, so today I'm covering dividing polynomials, first by long division and then by synthetic division. So first off, we're just going to practice a couple of simple division problems that you learn in like 3rd or 4th grade. So 985 over 5. So that means it's being divided by 5. So I'll set up my box. I have 985 inside divided by 5. And I start off with, how many times does 5 go into 9? It goes in 1 time. And then you multiply it back out. 1 times 5 is 5. Then we subtract. So 9 minus 5 is 4. Then you bring down your next term, 8. So now we say, how many times does 5 go into 48? Which would be 9 times. Then you multiply it back out. So 9 times 5 is 45. Then we subtract, get 3. And I bring down my last term and start the process again. How many times does 5 go into 35? That's 7 times. And then 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract, we get 0. So we get that 5 goes into 985, 197 total times with no remainder. We can do it again here. So 753 divided by 4. So 753 goes in the box, divided by 4. And again, we start off with, how many times does 4 go into 7? Well, it goes in 1 time. And then you multiply. 1 times 4 is 4. Next, we subtract. So 7 minus 4 is 3. We can bring down our next term and begin the process over. How many times does 4 go into 35? It goes in 8 times. Then you multiply it. 8 times 4 is 32. Then we subtract and we get 3. Bring down our next term and start over again. How many times does 4 go into 33? It goes in 8 times. And then 8 times 4 is 32. We subtract and we get 1. And I have nothing else to bring down. So my next step is I need to decide how I want to write my remainder. And I'm going to write my remainder today as a fraction. So my fraction is the remainder, which is 1, over what I divided by, which is 4. So I get that 4 goes into 753, 188 and 1/4 times. Okay, these steps that we just took to divide is exactly going to be the same steps as dividing a polynomial. So I'm going to be dividing x squared plus 7x minus 2 by x minus 2. So to get started, I'm going to write x squared plus 7x minus 2 in the box. And I'm dividing it by x minus 2. Now our thinking is just slightly different whenever we're trying to get started. So the only things that we're going to be looking at are lead coefficients, our lead variables. So I have x and I have x squared. So I ask myself, x times what gives me x squared? And that's going to be x. And I always write my variables on top of like variables. So instead of writing the x on top of the x squared, I wrote it on top of the 7x. That's just personally how I stay organized. Okay, so x times x gave me x squared. My next step is I'm going to multiply it back out like I did before. So x times x is x squared, and x times negative 2 is negative 2x. Now what we need to do is we subtract the entire second line. So x squared minus x squared is 0x squared, so that's gone. Then I have 7x minus a negative 2x, which actually gives us 9x, because when you subtract a negative, you really add. My next step is I'm going to bring down my next term. So I'm bringing down negative 2. So now I'm starting the process of x times what gives me 9x. So x times 9 gives me 9x. So I'm going to put 9 up here. And I'm going to multiply it back out. So 9 times x is 9x. And 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. And now I'm going to subtract my second line again. So 9x minus 9x is 0x, so it's gone. And negative 2 minus negative 18 is really negative 2 plus 18, which gives us 16. I have nothing else to bring down, so 16 is going to be my remainder, and it's a positive 16, so it's going to be plus 16 over what I divided by, which is x minus 2. So there is my final answer. So the process is very, very similar to just normal long division. Doing another, I have 4x to the fourth plus 5 divided by x squared plus 1. This one we need to be very, very careful with. So when you go to fill in your division box, you cannot skip any exponents. So I'm starting off with 4x to the fourth, but now I don't have an x to the cube, so I have to put in a placeholder in for that. So it's going to be plus 0x cubed. I also don't have an x squared, so I have to put in a 0x squared as a placeholder. I also don't have an x, so I'm going to have to put in plus 0x, and then I can put in plus 5. So from the beginning to the end, you have to put in placeholders if any degrees are missing. Same thing for what we're dividing by. So we're dividing by x squared plus 1. So I'm dividing by x squared. I'm missing an x, so plus 0x plus 1. Okay, so to get started, I only look at my first terms, so x squared and 4x to the fourth. So x squared times what gives me 4x to the fourth? Well, that's 4x squared. And again, I always just write my like variables on top of each other, so that's why I chose to put it there. Our next step is we have to multiply that out. So 4x squared times x squared is 4x to the fourth. 4x squared times 0x is 0x cubed. And 4x squared times 1 is 4x squared. Our next step is we're subtracting that entire line. So 4x to the fourth minus 4x to the fourth, that's 0, that's gone. 0x cubed minus 0x cubed is 0, so that's gone. And 0x squared minus 4x squared is a negative 4x squared. My next step is I need to bring down my next term. But if you look, I'm dividing by 3 terms. I'm dividing by an x squared, a 0x, and a 1. So I need to divide into 3 terms. So I'm going to bring down my 5 as well. So I'm actually dividing into negative 4x squared plus 0x plus 5. But I'm going to start the process all over again. So 0x squared times what is negative 4x squared? Well, that's negative 4. And now we multiply back out. So negative 4 times x squared is negative 4x squared. Negative 4 times 0x is 0x. And negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And that entire line we're going to subtract. So negative 4x squared minus negative 4x squared is 0. 0x minus 0x is 0. And 9 minus a negative 4, that's really adding. So 5 plus 4 gives me 9. It's a positive 9, so it's going to be plus, and the 9 is going to be my remainder. So 9 over, when you write your remainder, you can write it in the short way. So x squared plus 1. So my answer is 4x squared minus 4 plus 9 over x squared plus 1. Okay, one more long one. Yeah, one more long one. I have 6x to the fourth plus 2x cubed plus 5x squared plus 3x divided by 3x squared plus x minus 2. So I'm going to write all this out, making sure not to skip any degrees. So I've got 6x to the fourth plus 2x cubed plus 5x squared plus 3x, and I'm missing my constant, so I'm going to put plus 0. And I'm dividing it by 3x squared plus x minus 2. Okay, so to get started, 3x squared times what gives me 6x to the 4th? And that's 2x squared. Now I need to multiply out. So 2x squared times 3x squared is 6x to the 4th. 2x squared times x is 2x cubed. And 2x squared times negative 2 is negative 4x squared. And I'm subtracting that entire line. So 6x to the 4th minus 6 to the 4th is 0. 2x cubed minus 2x cubed is 0. 5x squared minus negative 4x squared is actually 9x squared. And my next step is to bring down my next term, but I'm going to have to bring both terms down because I'm dividing by 3 terms, which means I need to divide into 3 terms. And now I repeat the process. So 3x squared times what gives me 9x squared? Well, that's a positive 3. So then multiply out. So 3 times 3x squared is 9x squared. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And I'm going to subtract again. So 9x squared minus 9x squared is 0. 3x minus 3x is 0. And 0 minus negative 6 is positive 6. I have nothing else to bring down, so 6 is going to be my remainder. It's positive, so it's going to be plus 6 over 3x squared plus x minus 2. And I ran out of room. But my final answer is 2x squared plus 3 plus 6 over 3x squared plus x minus 2. So there's my final answer. I just couldn't fit it all right there. And that is it for dividing polynomials using long division.